আচ্ছা তোমাকে কি বলে ডাকবো? আখি? How do you say your
Yeah,
first name?
you say Kahkasan. I know it's not like
Yeah.
written as it you should say Kahkasan. Yeah.
You wear many hats, right? Like you're an architect, you're an interior designer, right? And you're an artist,
Right.
illustrator, and then of course you're a mom of two. And that's part of the reason we wanted to have this adda with you because
Yeah.
us three we talk a lot about wearing different hats as women in particular, and like how we balance all that and I know you and I talked briefly a little bit about right before you went to Dhaka for Dhaka Makers and in terms of, how awesome it is to see like your kids to be able to see that you are chasing your dreams and you're pursuing something that you're truly passionate about and that, you had to fly thousands of miles away to make some of
Yes.
those dreams come true. And in our culture or society, we tend to judge moms more than dads when it comes to doing things like
Yep.
that, right? But I mean, talk a little bit about like you became an architect, and then I know you have a couple of businesses. So you have the calf designs, and
Yes,
then
that's
obviously what I'm a huge fan of,
yes.
intense pursuits. Yeah, talk about those two. I mean, like how first of all, it's so brave to open a business or start a business. I mean, I don't think I could ever do that. How did you decide to start your own businesses and like, how did you navigate through all that?
Yeah. So intense pursuits was always there. Like I did it as a side thing. It really like, how I talked about, I didn't see anything Bangladeshi when I came to the US.
Yeah.
I think that's the seed that was planted in me. Like I wanted to, that's why I did, I made Intense Pursuits because I wanted to have more Bangladeshi things in the US and not just be, go and bringing it from Dhaka. So I always kind of did something on the side with my architecture job. I think that's how I started Intense Pursuits. And in 2011, one of my really close friends, she's an amazing artist, she introduced me to Etsy. And because I used to just sell my stuff on Craigslist. It was always on something I did on the side. And my husband Deep, he's always been telling me, you got to follow your passion, do work for yourself. But I was like,
That's
no,
amazing.
I won't have like money coming in every month. I can't do that.
Tell us about, because for those who don't know what this rickshaw painting is.
It's just a basic rickshaw from the back. It's
the classic Bangladeshi rickshaw art
Bangladeshi
type. Yeah.
What we see every day in Dhaka, but we never painted. We never paint, basic things that made our lives, everyday lives in Dhaka.
Yeah.
And we see pictures of it. Like there are pictures of it, full of it in Pinterest, but nobody's ever painted it, I guess, or maybe they have. But I don't know. I've always been drawn to it. Lots of memories, rickshaws, and that color and the patterns always got me. So I don't know. I just randomly painted it, and right away, one of my friends like, "Yeah, I want that painting." I was like, "Okay," and then everyone's like, "I want that painting too." And that's when I got introduced to the world of art prints, which I didn't know about. So I made, high quality art prints of my painting, which is still available on my Etsy shop. And
I have one of those, by the way.
You have one, yes.
Yes.
You know what
Love
I find
it.
is so amazing is that I think also in the pandemic, you and a few others from Bangladeshis in the US, what that does is it puts representation in your house. Like I can go to Home Goods and have stuff from Home Goods and it's cute. But once I realized that I could have that rickshaw art, or I have this other one from another Labyrinth, is the
Yes,
other
I
girl.
love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when people walk by, they're like, "Oh my God, is that you?" Like, that's never happened
Yeah.
with art growing up, living here. Like I never saw ourselves reflected in any of it. So now you can put it in your house. And it's our kids are seeing it like you're like, yeah, this is beautiful, it's art, your friend bought it, but the impact that your art has on people's lives, on generations, is immense.
It is.
There's so much Indian and Pakistani representation and so much art
Yeah.
and art, crafts and decor, but Bangladesh is like, this much, or even, close to none in the West or Europe or wherever.
And it's ironic because we have such a huge garments industry, and many times when someone's like, "Where are you from?" in Bangladesh, "Oh my God, I have a shirt from there," right? Like the
Yeah.
made in Bangladesh, I remember when we were growing up abroad and seeing that, the pride I used to
Yes.
feel like, "Oh my God, that's from my country." It was
There
such
was
a big
there was
deal.
that pride, but also people kind of didn't want to buy it. Do you remember that?
Exactly. No, Bangladeshis wouldn't buy it because they're like, "বঙ্গবাজারে এটা পাওয়া যায়। আমি গ্যাপ থেকে
Oh,
কেন কিনবো made in Bangladesh?"
Oh,
Yeah, but it was nice to see that representation, but it was so hidden because how many people actually look at it? But for many of us, that was like the beginning of feeling that
that's
pride.
right.
And now, to your point, Marion, to see actual Bangladeshi, unique Bangladeshi things, it's awesome. And one of the other things you've done through this intense pursuits is our beautiful language. Bangla is just, I mean, it's so beautiful in writing. And again,
yes.
another one where most people aren't familiar. You don't really see it, but then you started creating these books. And I'm going to butcher it. So you talk to us a little bit about the
No,
books
no,
you
no.
started creating.
It's funny. Like I feel like a lot of the things I done or did or do, it's like inspired from the people around me, or they've given me ideas. So the Bangladesh book is similar.
Yeah, I
And
have
then
one of those coloring books.
my nieces and nephews, they also regret not having learned to read Bangla. They can all speak, but they're always looking for, like stuff for somebody who's English speaking to learn the language. Like Guba Books has a lot of
Yeah.
great flashcards, and so I bought them those. And so I kind of paired the two together. There's a coloring book with the Bangla alphabet, but how can I make it also so that somebody wants to know the alphabet? So I put, all those translate, like, a alphabet book is usually. So those are the two ideas. I combined it.
Wow.
And yeah, that's how I started it. And I got local press in Seattle, Washington to print them. And they helped me, with the how to make it like a book. So printed and published in Seattle, and I'm proud of that as well.
So the alphabet book, tying to that, one of the coolest things that then happened to you is, so I don't know if you guys are familiar, Lisa Ling came out with a food show maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, called
Yeah.
Takeout, right? It was on HBO. And again, talk about representation. I love food shows. I watch almost every one of
Yes.
them, and they cover Indian food like to death. But it's very rare to see people going and visiting Bangladeshi restaurants in the States or anywhere outside of Bangladesh. And so she specifically did a show dedicated to Bangladeshi cuisine,
An
and
episode.
an episode, yeah,
Episode in New York, Bangladeshi
in
cuisine
New
in New
York.
York. Yeah.
Okay. And out of nowhere, I see this writing that looks exactly like Aki's alphabets on each of the segments. It was your stuff. Like, how did that happen?
It's insane. So 2021 summer, somebody reached out to me loosely saying like, "Oh, we're thinking of doing a documentary, and we like your art, and we want you to do some illustrations." It was like very vague, and I didn't understand. I was like, "I want to learn more. Please tell me more." But then she disappeared, and I didn't hear back from her. I was literally 36 weeks pregnant with my second one. And I get a call from the director of that episode. And he finally like, I had no idea up until then what am I gonna do, or what's happening, nothing. He tells me about it and how Onik Khan is in it and Sola's gonna be in it. And And I was like, listen, I am 36 weeks pregnant. I cannot promise you anything. But and the director is Sofian Khan. He's with Capital Pictures, and he is nowhere near Bangladeshi, but he made sure for this Bangladeshi episode to find Bangladeshi artists and photographers and people.
Wow.
As many Bangladeshi people he could find to fill in for this
Amazing.
episode, which
Oh, that's so
just amazing.
nice.
And I
Yeah.
was like, how did you even find me? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
among a sea of people out there, like, why, how me? And he's like, I saw one of your illustrations. Maybe it was like a fish or the Bangladeshi list. He saw something that it caught on to him, and he's like, yeah, can you make some fonts or calligraphy, that will say, where, like, say Jersey City or Queens or Manhattan. I was like, okay, so I have to do this. Like, I'm going to brainstorm like really quickly and show you, a few examples. And we have to do it like, because I'm not only 36 weeks pregnant, I was 1 centimeter dilated.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my goodness.
Like, I'm like ready with my bag anytime.
Any day.
Yeah, because my firstborn was preemie. He was born at 35 weeks. So doctor was like, we can't take any chances.
Yep.
So that week I started sketching things up, and then I finally made the one you see on the show. I finally made one. I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. I just know it. This is it. And I show it to him, and he was so nice to work with. I show it to him. He's like, yes, this is it. You finish it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take like my iPad with me to the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
goodness.
Because it was Oru was born December and the show aired in January.
Oh my
So
God.
they were really close. Like, that's the last thing they needed, and they just they got caught up with other things. And so I know
That's an intense pursuit right there.
Yes. Nicely done, Maya.
Nice.
And all this time I was like working on it, or I talked with him, it didn't feel real. But when I saw my art on HBO, and then I saw my name, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe
Amazing.
this is unreal. Like, and it was like nighttime feeding I woke up for, and that's when I turned, because I knew that by the time, like, it aired at 12 a.m.
Right.
like alone by myself, like probably pumping, watching
Wow.
my name on HBO. It still gives me goosebumps when
I know, I'm
about
getting goosebumps hearing this.
Same
Like,
here.
We were all rooting for you when it happened too. I think that there must have been a text thread or something where we were like, did you see? Did you see? Did you see?
it. Aw.
oh yeah.
It's funny, like, some people who didn't know I did it but saw the font, and they're like, oh my God, we know who did it, because it
Or
looks
somebody
so much,
copied her.
Right.
because it looks so much like something that I would make. But
But what a
yeah,
full circle to, you coming to the States and being like, what the heck, there's nothing Bangladeshi
there's
here,
nothing. Yeah.
to then having
Yes.
your work, representation of like Bangladesh on an HBO show. I mean, and it's not just like some random, I mean, Lisa Ling is like a well-renowned journalist.
Yes, she is.
It's just incredible. And
Global platform.
yeah.
Yeah, I often think about that, because people were very negative about my passion of when I had, of course, I was a mean 16-year-old. Obviously, people were annoyed, but that really stuck to me. Like, I'm sure everyone has heard this, like, oh, hey, in 6 months you'll forget about Bangladesh, because I was like, I'm leaving, I'm going back, and they're like, yeah, you'll be fine. And I think we still say that to people who newly move here, but it would really, really hurt me. So now that I look back and think about it, I really held on to that, like, I would say, stubbornness of really making something out of that negativity.